Do you know corruption does actually exist? And there's even studies, I don't know who does them, on the most corrupt countries in the world. So this is countries. This is the largest holistic sort of evaluation. These are countries, not government departments and the like, brown envelopes and all this sort of stuff. So if it starts at the level of countries, then work your way to your imagination to how that filters down all the way through. Now, I want to talk about this, and I've been talking about corruption quite a bit, and and it is hard the in terms of um, we talk about there's a few bad apples or a handful of bad apples, um, a few individuals who step out the line. That's not true um, whatsoever. But real corruption is rarely that simple. It really isn't. Real corruption is a culture. I'm talking about the police, by the way, and perhaps the court system, but I'm referring to the police in this instance. It's a system, it's a quiet agreement that everyone understands, but nobody dares to say out loud. I mean, you know this in your own work environment. I wrote this uh, again just in my quiet moments, and we all know this in our workplace. Surely that can't be right. Within the police, it's very different because it has massive consequences. Because in many police forces, the greatest fear isn't breaking the rules. We've discussed this in the Ralph Christie case and also actually the Ian Levers case. Those are actually the first two cases we've been running a series on. The greatest fear is breaking the narrative, which I've discussed before. Officers learn very quickly that the safest thing they can do is follow the company line, which is the police force. Don't question, don't challenge, don't expose, because I believe the moment you do, you're no longer one of us. You become the outsider, the problem, the risk. And in that environment, even good people, decent people, start choosing silence over integrity. And that silence is not neutral. The silence is not harmless. The silence is complicity. When officers witness wrongdoing and say nothing, when they see misconduct and look away, when they know the truth but regurgitate the official version because it's easier, that, in my mind, is corruption. Not always in the dramatic headline grabbing sense, but in the slow, steady erosion of public trust. And in all honesty, let's be honest, the pressure is real. Can you imagine being a police officer or a whistleblower? Speak up and you risk your job. Speak up and you risk your reputation. Speak up and you risk being frozen out by the very people you rely on for your safety. Imagine going home to your partner or your parents and speaking up, and how, from my perspective, I would think, look, you need your job, just keep quiet and just carry on. But there's victims here. So many officers that I just made that up as I was just thinking. Um, so many officers convince themselves that staying quiet is the professional thing to do. That protecting the institution is more important than protecting the truth. But what kind of institution needs protection from honesty? What kind of system punishes integrity and rewards obedience to a lie? Following the narrative may be easier, but easier does not mean right. And it becomes criminal in itself. Because corruption doesn't survive because of the corrupt. Corruption survives because of the silent. So, so true. If you want a justice system worthy of the name, we need culture where truth is not a threat, where honesty is not a career ending act, where officers are encouraged, not punished, for doing the right thing, and where the public can trust that the badge stands for justice, not for loyalty, for the flawed fucking narrative. Real accountability doesn't start with policies, it starts with courage, the courage to speak, the courage to challenge, the courage to refuse to be part of a system that demands silence instead of integrity. Because the moment we accept that's going to go along with it is normal, we've already lost policing that is supposed to protect justice.